Doing a tofu scramble on a sheet pan scramble. That's what we're doing. Okay. Hey everyone, it's Jackie from Vegan Yak Attack, and I'm back with a brand new video and recipe for you. Today we are making sheet pan tofu scramble. Tofu scramble, one of my favorite vegan breakfasts. I was thinking the other day while I was making one, you know, one block of tofu is nice for me for maybe 3 servings, depending on what all I'm adding to it. What would be a better way for me to, one, do less dishes, do less cooking since I've been doing so much cooking at home, even for myself. And this way I can make it 5 portions for like my weekdays. Not that days necessarily matter right now, but just basically 5 servings that will last a few days, have something nutritious to just kind of pull out in the morning, either reheat in your skillet or in the microwave. I don't really care what you do, eat it cold, whatever you want. So I wanted to come up with a very nutritious and easy breakfast meal prep with this sheet pan tofu scramble. What I've also added to this is an optional white bean sauce. It's going to be very simple, and I'm going to use some of the white beans in the scramble. That way you don't have just half a can of white beans sitting around in your fridge, because that's kind of the worst. And that is a Chipotle Smoky white bean cream sauce. I feel like that'll be a really nice addition to this hearty breakfast, kind of give you a little bit more flavor. It's awesome. So I guess we can just get right into the ingredients. A lot of what I have here can be switched out for something else that you have on hand, or maybe that's easier to find. Right here I have my white northern beans. Chickpeas can also work, they're just not as soft as white beans, so I really like these for any kind of sauce. I have the white beans, I think it's great for this, but basically any other soft, any other soft legume will also work. I have some spices that I kind of like to keep as is, but I'll list some substitutions for those, for either preferences or allergies, in the blog post, which you'll find linked in the description. Here I've got red onion, but pretty much any onion will also taste great. So brown, yellow, maybe not as sweet, but in a pinch that could work. I have lemon for the sauce. Lime could also work, but I like to stick to lemon with this one. I have extra firm tofu because I didn't feel like really pressing my tofu before this. You still want to give it a little squeeze with maybe a rag or just your hands, because even right now it's been sitting on this plate for not too long and there's a little liquid in here that I will pour off before I use it. You can also use firm tofu instead of the extra firm, but you'll want to press it beforehand to get more of that moisture out, or else it might be too soft and soupy on the sheet pan as everything's cooking together. I have some more spices, some kala namak, which I used in the French toast dish that I made a couple weeks ago, and that is a sulfuric Indian salt that is really great at giving an eggy flavor to stuff. You can use regular salt if that's not really your jam, or if you can't find it, it's very affordable in like Indian markets or international markets, more so than if online, but you can still buy it there if you need to. I have Nutritional Yeast, which is a fortified savory flake yeast that's inactive. You can buy in a supplement area of your grocery store most times, or even sometimes in the spices depending on where you're at. Some turmeric and other spices for this kind of hash that we're adding, which in that will be chopped bell peppers. I have a mix of green and yellow. Whatever your preference is, I just used 2 medium bell peppers, and I'm going to combine those with these 2 Yukon Gold potatoes, but russet or red will still work great for this hash. And then lastly over here, I have some spinach that I chopped, and if you are using fresh spinach, make sure to rinse it really well. It is honestly one of the dirtiest vegetables when you buy it from the store. Just all the dirt gets in those little leaves and you'll be chewing on it if you don't rinse it well. So I chopped that. I have it here, kale, or like chard or collards, any kind of hardy green that will wilt at the end. We're gonna add that to the sheet pan meal. I have some high temp cooking oil for the hash to be coated in before I add it to the pan. If you want to forego it, that's fine. You just won't have the same like crispiness or caramelization in the oven as you would with it. Now that we've talked about all that, let's put it together. First, we're going to be making the tofu scramble part, which is very easy. Drain the bean juice, or aquafaba for those in the know, out of this can of white beans, because we're going to use that in the sauce to have the liquid, and also it's going to get a little fluffy in the blender when we blend it up. Half a cup, roughly, because usually in cans it's about 1.5 cups of cooked beans once it's drained. So we want that other cup for the sauce. We'll put in that half cup and leave that there for later for the sauce. And I don't want these to be whole in the scramble, so I'm just going to give them a little mash. You can also do this with a fork. It's totally fine. Just whatever you want to get it a little smaller so that when they bake, they're not super hard. Now I'm going to just use my hands, which I have definitely washed, and grab this tofu. And all you have to do, oh yeah, there's a little water in here, is just go like that with your hands. Squeeze it in there. Even when I make it in the pan, this is all that I do. I don't really break it up much in the pan because this is very easy, and then you can just let it cook in there. So here we are. I'm going to dump the water that's on here and then put that in here as well. And it may seem a little wet, but the nice thing about this is when it bakes, the outside will start getting crispy after a certain point, and the inside will still stay kind of like wet and jiggly, which sounds weird when I say it out loud, but it's a nice texture for like a scramble. And meanwhile, you want to preheat your oven because we're doing this at 450, which is pretty warm. So you may have time to preheat it while you're doing this, but definitely that should be the first thing that you're doing, is preheating your oven. All right, I'm gonna rinse off my hands. Next, we're going to add a few tablespoons of nutritional yeast. Ooh, yeah. And then I have a couple teaspoons of granulated onion powder. Lastly, I have a bit of turmeric, just for color really. Also nice to just have in there. Some ground black pepper, and then that kala namak, aka black Indian salt that I spoke of. And again, you can use sea salt instead of the kala namak if you don't have it. It's just personal preference. Here we're going to stir this together. Until everything is evenly coated. And then if you really like nutritional yeast or whatever, you can add in a little bit more. A lot of this just, tailored to your preference. I'm trying to give you a solid foundation to build upon. That's pretty good. Now I'm going to spread that onto the sheet pan first. So I have a pretty large sheet pan here, which is it's actually a half sheet pan if you have a really large oven. This is kind of the standard, like, normal size for us regular people at home. So I'm going to spread this out over here. Ooh, look at all that scramble. Okay. We'll kind of put that on like 2/3 of the sheet pan. It's okay if it's not like super flat, because again, you're gonna get some of those crispy edges, but you'll still have some soft areas. Okay, that looks good. We are going to make the hash that goes with it. I just rinsed out that tofu scramble bowl. I'm not trying to make more dishes than necessary. And like I said, we have multicolor bell pepper. I like using a combo of green and honestly red orange or or yellow, because these ones are nice and ripe and sweet, and because these ones, the green ones, are not ripe, They have a little bit of bitterness, but it's nice in the whole combination of flavors. So add that to the bowl. And then what we're going to do is dice up these potatoes. Because everything on the sheet pan will cook at a pretty fast rate, especially at 450, you want to finely dice these. I mean like 1/4 inch, and I'm not messing around, because a 1/2 inch is just not gonna get done as well as you want it to. This is about 1/2 pound of potatoes if you go to the store and you're just buying them solo. You just put them in the scale, so about 1/2 pound, or like 2 small medium Yukon Gold potatoes, or like I said before, any potato you have on hand. I'm going to give this a flat side first, put that over here, and then, like I said, I'm going to do 1/4 inch. And then I like to take these slabs, not too many at a time. So now we're cutting like little matchsticks, like fries. And then cutting our cubes. All right. Add those in with the bell peppers. And then just keep doing that with the rest of the potato. Okay, now that all the potatoes are added in here, of course we're gonna add that red onion. So now I'm going to cut off the root part. I like to peel off the skin and then save this part for freezer veggie broth, like freezer veggie scrap broth that I make in a pressure cooker. So I'll save that. And same with this top part. Just like I said, remove the skins because they're a bit bitter. Now we are going to cut into the onion, and I'm kind of gonna go around in the shape, just all the way through to the core. And we're going to leave about a 1/2 centimeter uncut on this end. And that way it keeps the onion together, it's not just falling apart as we're slicing it. And you can even use some of these lines as a guideline for how far apart to slice it. So, well, aside from these rogue ones, now you can just go like that and stick it in with the rest of the hash ingredients. All right, carefully get that last cut part, and then just go ahead and cut through on the last bit of that. That was pretty easy, wasn't it? Okay, now with the hash, not going too wild on ingredients. Going to drizzle about 2 teaspoons of oil on this. Like I said before, if you don't eat oil, you can definitely leave it out of this recipe. If you have no feelings either way, I recommend using it just because it does give a nice caramelization, and fat carries flavor pretty well. So now I have some sea salt, some paprika, and black pepper, finely ground. I'll add these in here. You can always add like a little parsley, dried parsley if you want. Whatever you have on hand that you might be into. Maybe you want to do like Old Bay or something. I love Old Bay seasoning. Toss that to coat. Mmm, so beautiful. I love fresh ingredients. That looks good. Also smells very good. And now we're going to add this to the sheet pan as well. Here we are. And add that over to the side. Ooh, heaping. Might have to scoot some of this scramble over. If you don't have a large cooking sheet or baking sheet like this, just use 2 smaller ones, and then when you throw it in the oven, halfway through, switch the racks so that you get equal heat on the top and bottom. Okay, scooted that over. Get the last bits of this in here. And we're still gonna give it a little stir, at least with the hash side, as it's baking or roasting, just to make sure that we get some crispiness in this hash area. Oh my gosh, it's like Mardi Gras right here. Now I'm realizing what colors these are. Beautiful. Okay, and we're gonna save that spinach until we're like the last 5 minutes of roasting. That way it just doesn't burn to a crisp. It'll just be nice and wilty. We can fold it in with everything else. Now, let's put it in the oven. While that's roasting, and before we turn it around halfway through, we can just whip up that white bean chipotle sauce. So now we're going to take the remaining white beans that are in the can, so about a cup of white beans here. Pour those in. I think we got all of them. And now we're going to add the juice of 1/2 lemon. Maybe we want to take the seeds out of there. Just for a little acidity. Now we're going to add in some of the spices. I have smoked paprika and then ground chipotle. You can also use like ancho chili powder would be really good, or even kind of regular chili powder also works, but chipotle is a little smokier, a little spicier. I really like it. And then just some sea salt to taste. There we are. And now we're going to use about a 1/2 cup of this aquafaba. Just almost what's in the whole can. Just for liquid. Actually, I'm gonna add about a 1/3 cup first. See how it blends. And then if it's too thick, then I'll add on the rest of it. But I think that this is gonna be fine. All right, and then that's it. That's literally all that's in the sauce. We're just gonna blend it now. Ugh. All right, let's give it a little taste to see if it needs some more salt or even more acid. Ooh. So you see, because we didn't use water, we get this nice creamy sauce that just smells really good. Mmm. Mmm. Oh, woo, spicy. Oh man. What I think this needs is maybe just a little bit more acid. So I'm gonna get another 1/2 of a lemon to brighten it up a little bit. And I think I'm gonna add just a little bit of that cooking oil we have because that'll get it really, really creamy. Again, you can leave it out if you want, if you avoid oil. This is a really nice oil-free sauce as is, but I just wanna give it a little bit of that base from the oil. So here, I'm gonna add about a teaspoon, not too much because this is not a lot of sauce. And I have another ugly lemon that I need to get rid of, so I'm gonna add the other 1/2 in here and give it another whirl. Actually, and maybe just a pinch of salt, just a little bit of sea salt, rather. There we go. I think that this might be the magic combination here. Okay, so I don't know if you noticed that what happened when I added that oil in is that the sauce became more opaque. So I rinsed off my spatula. You see, try not to get my hair over here in the way. Ooh, it's really good. Okay. That's where it's at. That's good. I love how tangy that is because I think it'll do really well on the very savory tofu scramble. So now I can refrigerate this until we're ready to use it. Halfway through the roasting process, you see a little bit of crusty color here, a little bit of crusting over here. Very good. Oh, you're already on spoon. All right. And then we're just gonna give this a little stir. See little jiggles. A little jiggly tofu scramble. I am such a dork. Give this side a nice little toss. And if you're not using oil, I recommend using maybe parchment paper underneath the hash part because those potatoes and stuff, the sugar is in them, they will get stuck to the pan if it's not nonstick. Okay, another few minutes and then we'll add the spinach and then we'll almost be done. So in the last few minutes of this, ooh, yum. Oh, this smells so good. We're just going to sprinkle that spinach all over the top. And like I said before, you can use kale, whatever you want. And then we're gonna roast this for just a few more minutes to get this spinach cooked through, but not too burnt. And back in she goes. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Hot damn. Look at this, ain't she a beaut? Oh my gosh, I cannot wait to eat this. All right, since I dubbed this sheet pan tofu scramble a meal prep dish, I thought I'd bring out my nice glass meal prep containers. Keep my oven mitt still. This is quite hot. Ooh, this looks perfect. So that jiggly, but I love these like crunchy areas on top. I love this. This is awesome. All right. And there we are. And with tofu scrambles, I like to give it a little pinch of salt after it's done cooking, or even just anything on a baking pan, because the salt does cook out just a little bit. So I'm just gonna give it a light sea salting, but if you're trying to watch your salt intake, forego it. It'll still be delicious. And your palate might be used to less salty food than mine. All right, and now some of this hash. These potatoes are nice and done. That's what you get with that small dice. Ooh. Okay, here we go. Look at that delicious breakfast. Wow. And now for the little sauce, give this little drizzle over the top. Ooh, yeah, that's sexy. Look at her. And that time that it takes, I left in the fridge as this was cooking. I feel like it marinates nicely, and you can just leave it on the side if you're enjoying this during the week. Now, moment of truth. Oh my gosh. I love tofu scramble so much. But can you imagine trying to fit all of this tofu scramble in one pan? You'd need a massive pan. Probably end up burning some of it. This was so easy. I really loved doing it this way. Oh man. Nice and savory. Got some veggies. It's a pretty lean meal, honestly. This is a nice, nutritious breakfast. And now, we're just gonna have a few containers of these in the refrigerator for the rest of the week. But these will last in the refrigerator for up to, I don't know, probably 5 to 6 days, maybe 7 days if your refrigerator is super cold. So you can find this whole recipe in the link below at veganyackatack.com. I'll also have a link to these glass containers if you're interested. And if you like this video, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe. I'll see y'all later.